Hello, welcome to the Shaman's Cave. I'm Renee Baribeau.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Ingerman, and welcome to the Shamans Cave. It is a big, windy day in Santa Fe. We're actually having very extreme winds here for days now, and that's not our pattern in January. So the winds of change are definitely talking to us. And as we all know, there's just been so much energy going into finding courses and finding practices and finding changing lifestyles for everything that's going on with the virus and our health. And for good reason. We have been pretty sleepy and we have been moving slow, and the universe is starting to pump up the energy a bit and saying, are you going to participate, or are you going to come in as an actual balanced species to this planet, or do we have to just completely ask you to leave? Which way is it going to go? And so the energy's getting pumped up, and there are people who are feeling it, not all. And so people are going to courses, not just shamanism courses are course attractive right now, but breathing courses and courses about letting go and courses about trauma. The list goes on and on. I don't have to tell you, you're probably all as overwhelmed by it as I am. And what I started to realize, because I have been really, really trying to encourage people to let go of as much as their past as they can. I'm not into magical thinking. I'm really not. People out there think I am because I work with shamanism, but I'm not a magical thinker. But one of the things that's happening is that and I lost my train of thought again about not being a magical thinker. What's happening is people are going into all these courses where we're all telling people to let go of the past, that you can't go. If this really is the entrance to the age of Aquarius, that you have to let go of your past. And I've been in that process for 6 years now. And I've been working with spirits who keep bringing me to past events, past traumas that I've been through. Over Christmas, I couldn't believe it. They gave me the biggest trauma in my life from my childhood that I completely forgot about. So it was a real wake-up call. And so the danger in what's happening with all the emptying out, all the letting go, is that then we're hollowed out. And that hollowed out is a really good place to be, because it's a time when the spirits can come to work with us and to help us fill up. But for tens of thousands of years, a core teaching has been our perception creates our reality. So unless we fill up with beauty, unless we fill up with the goodness of life, if we just now have let go of our past and we see ourselves moving forward and a little bit of our past trailing behind us, and if we just fill up on the news, we just create a traumatic life that we've been trying to get away from our past. So this show is about how do we fill up with something different than more suffering.
That's such a big subject for this year. Is like, you know, sometimes you go down the street and I'm looking at the beautiful skies and the changing waters, and I'd like want to pinch myself in joy. And then I'm looking around and people are suffering so out there, and you kind of go, how can I be so happy when all these people are out there suffering? And, you know, instead of thinking like, why can't these people be happier and stop suffering? You know, like survivor's guilt.
Right.
That, you know, why is my life, why is, you know, why is my course filling up, and why are people coming to the Wind Clan, why are people doing this thing in this traumatic time? You know, why is my life seeming to fit together more like a glove lately, and watching people struggling so out there, and being, wanting and saying, okay, I want more of this life, and, you know, not to turn my back and walk away on anyone else's suffering, but I think that if we are really moving into this age of Aquarius, but we made up that word too, you know, it's not like,
Right.
you know, the universe doesn't know that this is the age of Aquarius and could really care less,
I
but
think it
that,
was a film song.
yeah, yeah, right, exactly, it worked out great. But that, what I really see happening, and I don't know about you, Sandra, is that I see like us splitting our consciousnesses, like that the people are becoming layered in this one, this middle world, that people are starting to be on many, many different levels and many, many different layers. And where you're putting your intention and when you're putting your wind breath is what you're creating.
Yeah, I went to my spirits the other day and I asked them a question that they won't answer at this point. They say, we'll see. I said, if you create your own bubble, can you live in it? Because basically that's what we're seeing is happening right now. We have the people who are creating the bubble that if I take the vaccine from the COVID, I'm going to be taken over. We have people in the spiritual community who are lining up. We have people getting more right, more hateful. We have people who I don't want to deal with any of that. I am just really focusing on my spiritual work and my connection to the divine. And that's actually where I've moved to because I've tried everything else and nothing else has worked in 6 years. So this is where I am and I believe in it. And
Well, good for you.
so and so we did a show, Renee and I did a show last year where we talked about the dimensions are splitting and how Isis had told me when I was 40 years old, I did a big ceremony outside and by myself, Isis told me that the dimensions were splitting and that um, there were now going to be two different dimensions. And we can see it happening as Renee shared it brilliantly, how she outlined it. And so the show that we did in the past was, what dimension do you want to get into? Because they're splitting now, you've got to jump into one of them. And that was the show that we did. And people are still going back and forth. You know, it's, I can't let the negativity go, but yes, I'm with you. Yes, I'm with you. I'm not sure, for those of you, I'm not sure if that's the doorway into the next. I'm not sure. We're learning this together. And so the question I pose to the spirits is, if everybody lives in their own little bubble, do they get to live that life? So we'll see.
It's funny because remember a couple years ago when we started, I thought I was writing a science fiction book about, you know, and I had it pegged for 40 years in the future when everyone was living in their own bubble and no one could go outside for very long. I didn't, because I try to, I live pretty, I'm like a tree, um, although a fast moving tree, but I like couldn't see that this was you know, a vision of what happened in 2020 at the time when everyone was going to be living inside and could only go outside a little bit. And so I do think people have already kind of started to move into that bubble. And I believe that my work in the world is to start to, you know, connect people still, that we have to, Like there was just such a beautiful thing about one day when I was tending the fire over the solstice was that one day my candle went out and I thought like, it could have gone, oh, look at, I'm like the leader of this clan and my candle's out. What, what does that have to say? And then all of a sudden I tapped in and I felt the hundreds of other candles that were lit. And I
Mhm.
was there like, we're not doing it alone. So if the days of I've got this push over are over. And, but I do think that as we connect more energetically to a bigger amount of people who do speak the same languages, because remember, back when there was tribes wandering, the nomadic tribes, they were congregated about people who spoke the same language. They were talking about the same wind, and so I think we have to start to find and connect out to the people who speak the same language so that we get that consensus,
Right.
and then you can start to find a little bit of peace. Like, I went to go see the engineer, and everyone's there like, well, he's a, and I'm there like, well, so it was like, do I go in with that tainted vision of this guy? Like I've already got like his whole scenario because somebody told me that this is what he believes. Instead, I walked in and there was this really handsome guy who you could tell was really smart, and and his ideas are his. They don't have to be my ideas, and he can still engineer my building plans.
Mhm.
Instead, we had a really nice conversation about where he went to college, where I went to college, his 5 acre piece of property, my acreage down the street. I mean, we found what was similar. But then I want to get into my spiritual world. I'm going to go over to the Wind Clan where people are sharing my language. So you need both. You need to be able to share your language and also go back out in and deal with the people at the post office and the grocery store and the bank without judgment. They're just imagine this. They're speaking a foreign language you don't understand. You don't go to, well, you could go to like Peru. I don't go to Peru and get frustrated when people are talking about things in Spanish that I don't get. No, I get an interpreter. I get somebody to help me understand it. So I think we're at that place where we're either going to need interpreters so we can help to understand where somebody's coming from, so we don't automatically throw them in the trash.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that the points that you're bringing up are really important. And my big question is, because I've been talking about in my last few courses that I've taught, that I see everything moving into working in small communities. I see community life again. I feel that that's where we have to be forced to. But again, community life has been going on for tens of thousands of years. And there's been the same thing, the killing, the making slaves of there's nothing different. Everything that we're fighting about today has been going on for tens of thousands of years. And so how do we now create um, peaceful communities? Because again, it's just been ego and survival, where one tribe that speaks the same language of the other is running out of food and takes over the other tribe and the other tribe. And, half the people who are um, um, Native people living in America ran from Siberia because they were chased out by another nomadic tribe. So you can see we're really not seeing anything different in the world of what happened in ancient times. But I absolutely believe in 100% of my body that we are going to need to learn how to live in healthy community. And what I ask of you is take this time to do your inner work, so you're not just bringing your ego into a community and they all fail. Trust me, I've been teaching for 40 years, so I've gotten to watch all the groups that end up coming out of workshops. And the groups that stay forever speak the same language, they listen to each other, they talk about their issues together, and they do really deep inner work to move beyond ego, to move into a place where spirit and heart are what's leading the community. And that's where we have to get to. And unfortunately, again, that doesn't happen quickly. It's as quickly as you can do your inner work so that you're free of your ego when you enter into another community.
Absolutely. And I try to hold that over. Like I have a smaller group of the Wind Pod of like people have taken the courses now for 2 and 3 years. And, you know, and one of the things that I hold space for in this little group is that we have to work through our differences, our projections, or the ability to say, hey, I see this. Can you hear it? No, you can't hear it. Well, you can't just say, no, you can't. I don't want to hear it from you guys because that's how, you know what I mean? That's not being in community too. My teacher one time put us all in the room and made us come up with all of our differences. And it was hard. It was hard to hear that I was a bully and that they all felt like I bullied them along the way and stuff like that. I've done a lot of work on it and I can still be a bully. But the thing is that's not what I want to be filled up with. I've done so much cleansing. I don't like, I can say, oh, there's the bully, or my friend who calls himself says, oh, there's Tantrum Terry. And I mean, and he was like, I'm there. Well, now the work is to keep Tantrum Terry happy. So Tantrum Terry doesn't come out and spit all over the community, because a community I'm in. And it's like, he hasn't quite learned that, but at least he's finally aware of that aspect of himself, because we all have those aspects of ourselves,
Right.
And so, but how do you, as you let go of those aspects, because sometimes aspects, one of the brilliant things I learned in AA when I did the steps was that there was character flaws that went away. They were gone. And then there was, the 3 or 4 or 5 karmic ones that are with me for the ride. But there's all of this extra space now that when that's in harmony and that's in balance, and that's what Sandra's going to take us on a journey, I believe, or some kind of an exercise to when you have that emptiness, what do you want to fill it up with? So the resentment, the anger, the ego doesn't come back in and fester like a wound.
Yeah, it's really tricky, because this is really the dangerous parts. The good stuff is the dangerous parts, because in the times when everything's bad, or we perceive them as bad, we just start looking everywhere, and we really have no power to do anything. But in the time we're in, where we're filling up, we have a choice of what we fill up with. And we can fill up with poison, which is dangerous to ourselves and dangerous to life, or we can fill up with beauty. So what I decided to do for myself, because the spirits kept giving me so much of my childhood was trauma, and they just kept giving me, but they did it over 6 years. So don't try to do this in a week. It was a very slow process of taking me back to every single issue in my life that I had to heal. And then, as I said recently on another show, they gave me my biggest issue on Christmas. And so now I'm getting ready to deal with this issue. And they said, no, we're telling you, your past is over. We just reminded you of this one issue. We've been through 6 years of letting go, letting go, letting go. You're not to work through this issue. It's gone. see yourself do all these visualizations. They gave me all these visualizations to do of seeing myself walking out of a bubbled energy. And you know how the bubbles pull and you're starting to pull back and you have to push yourself to get out of the bubble. That's what I'm doing with my past, because they said that that leads to freedom. So the exercise that I would like to lead you on is one that I had to do very early in my path of all the letting go for 6 years, because I realized I was getting empty and I was starting to get a little bit depressed, and I was starting to notice that my anger was coming out more. And I realized that I wasn't paying attention to, I let go of so much pain. I let go of so much suffering. There was nothing in me. What was I going to fill that with? And so I actually made, I was going to make a full body drawing of myself and put in different pictures. But I ended up doing something smaller, because it's better to do something that you're going to do instead of compressing it out. And it really worked for me. It actually shifted my whole entire perception on life, and it still works today. So I am going to lead you on a little exercise about this that you can continue in your own time. You can do an art project. You can just do it as a visualization, as I'm doing it right now. It could be a collage. It could be a box filled with things. It could be a new altar. There's so many possibilities of how this can be. So let's just get into a quiet space. And this is not something we want to do from the ego, but from your heart and from your soul. And I want you to think about life, not from an emotional point of view, but think about what you're attracted to, the beauty of life. Do you have a flower of a favorite color, of a favorite name? If you do, actually see yourself placing it in your body. Don't think about it. We're filling up those empty spaces of letting go of our past with beauty. Think about a texture that you love to run your fingers through. Feel that texture growing in your body. What a comfort to have it there. Think about your favorite food and favorite tastes. Now add that to your inner landscape so that you have that memory accessible to you all the time. Think about how much you love the earth, air, water, and fire as the fire beams in the sky and the fire burning deep in the earth. And take from there what feels really good, peaceful, harmonious, healing for you, and place it in your body. And feel how you feel now that we've just started a process where in your inner landscape, you're putting everything that you love in your inner landscape. It's going to fill from your toes up through your head. So you want to think about some form of craft or art or writing of how you might want to work. But for now, let's use our imagination. If you were to see your body filled up with so much beauty, wonderful textures, wonderful smells, wonderful everything, when you open your eyes, what do you see in the outer world? Do you see your worries, or do you see the beauty that is filling every single cell of your body? I know the answer to this question. Keep filling with beauty. Remember, our perception creates our reality. If you are filled with beauty, that's what you will see in this world. And when we can all see the beauty in all things, that's when the human race will heal. Welcome back, everyone.
Well, I can see you filled up. You've got a nice bright smile on your face.
Yeah, and you should see what the wind is doing here. It is intense.
I think my book is timely.
Yeah, I do believe so.
Just in time for the age of Aquarius and the windstorms. I started going right before it even started it, and it was like all of the water from the bay, you know, the harbors around me started filling me up, and it was like, oh yeah, that's nice, and it was nice and cool and spacious and room. It was a very nice journey. Thank you.
Yeah, good. No, it's really, I really cannot tell you. I really had a rough fall and winter and spring, and I really relied on this to get me through. It works. It really works well.
I have so much respect for you and for listeners. I get, you know, I get to sit with Sandra pretty much every week, and she's just like tenacious. I think we both are, but you like you know, we probably both look at each other and like, oh my god, I've never met anyone who works so hard. But we're both like that, and so I do, and I know we both have gone to the deepest, darkest, you know, inner aspects of ourselves to move that sludge, and that's really what's required if you're going to be a well, I think to be a community leader, because otherwise you don't know what your students have gone through.
Right.
You can have no compassion for them if you know if you haven't been there, and you can also you can't have that stern love where like, all right, pick yourself up by the bootstraps here and let's fill yourself up with some flowers today instead of some more of that swirling sludge that you know want to live in. So that was a beautiful meditation journey. I like that a lot.
Well, good. Yeah. Well, we're gonna keep inspiring you. As you can see, Renee is brilliant and in a big download mode. I am in a big download mode, and we are moving forward together. And so I'm excited about moving forward together. I do believe that we're going to have a lot of challenges to face, but we have so much information from the ancient ones of how to get through these times. So stay with Renee and myself, because we are going to help you walk this walk if you want to walk it with us.
Right. So make sure you subscribe. I'll give you all the rundown. Subscribe, go over to shamanstv.com and sign up for our mailing list. And in January, I always archive the list from last year. So then when you sign up for the mailing list, you'll get all of last year's shows with a little bit of a description that Sandra's written on each show. and that way you'll know where to go when you need help. Because all the time people come over to the Shaman's Cave and say, do a show on this, and we're thinking, oh, we did that 2 years ago, so go over, sign up, grab the list, and I'll do is I'll just add year 2 to year 1, because we're getting ready to launch season 3. Can you believe it, Sandra?
It's amazing.
It's
I'm so
amazing.
excited.
I
Yeah,
know. Can't wait to see where we're flying off to next. So
I know.
join us.
I am turning down work and saying, I I love working on the Shaman's Cave with Renee, and I love doing my transmutation news and my new monthly ceremonies on my transmutation news. And I'm really filled doing this work. I don't need a whole lot else.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. So stay with us, and thank you very much.
Blessings, everyone. Stay safe.